Well, hello, and welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted. I'm Ross Aiken. I'm old who.
And I'm Frazer Gregory, and I'm all of who.
Oh, well, that is true. You're in probably the most popular guest in, I think, in all the podcasts that I listen to. You're on a bunch of them. Thanks for coming back, Frazer. This is the first
Thank you
new
for having
Who. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it because this is the first new Gallifrey's Most Wanted I have recorded since March. And it will be the first to drop, and it'll drop just a couple days after we record it. And we're going to do Fury of the Deep, which 5 years ago we wouldn't have been talking about a bad audio. No, and a BBC. I'd have to listen to a BBC audio or a really dodgy reconstruction. But we had the luxury of watching it animated.
Yeah.
And let's jump to synopsis, and then we'll get back. Fury of the Deep, Serial RR. Writer, Victor Pemberton. Director, Hugh David. Script editor, Derek Sherwin. Producer, Peter Bryant. Originally aired March 16th, 1968 to April 20th, 1968. The Doctor and his companions are suspected of sabotage at a North Sea gas refinery off the coast of England. The refinery boss, Robson, blames them for the disappearance of his rig crews, and leaks and pressure builds up in the pipelines. The Doctor reports strange heartbeats from the pipeline, but Robson refuses to halt the gas flow. The noise comes from a form of parasitic seaweed which absorbs human brains and transforms men into weed creatures. The weed, exhaling toxic gases, launches an attack on the refinery. But after Victoria's screaming kills one, the Doctor realizes that the creature can be destroyed by high-frequency sound waves. Having killed all the creatures, the Doctor is ready to go on, but Victoria decides to remain at the refinery and is adopted by the Harrises. Another great synopsis from the Doctor Who Program Guide by Jean-Marc Lafayette. Well, my first thing is to ask you, Frazer, what do you think of the animated Doctor Who's? What's your take on them?
It's a funny one, this, because on the one hand you've got something you can watch. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't do well with telesnaps, so if you put like still pictures on a TV screen and then play the soundtrack, that doesn't really work for me. I really struggle to concentrate and focus on what's on screen. So having the animations is a godsend for me, because it does allow me to enjoy these stories in a way that I'm not going to otherwise. The audios are lovely when you've got a good, bridging narration and whatnot. But to really appreciate them, you've got to have it on your telly, and you've got to be watching moving pictures, at least for me. So to have the animations is a real godsend. But then you kind of fall into this area of what should the animation be? Should it be, as accurate to what was on the screen as possible, or should it be as accurate as to what the writer wanted on the screen as possible? And that's where it kind of starts getting into a little bit of trouble. That's where you get your Ian Levines of the world who will, shout and scream and rant and rave if the slightest thing is wrong. And you kind of think, well, why not actually do something that is better than what was on screen? We're talking about a TV show made in the BBC in the 1960s where they had no money, they had very short, very cramped studio conditions. Why not, do a show, as if it's
pull
got
the camera back a little bit, which is I'm of this mindset, because I am, as somebody who did theater, and I have this thing about people go, why do you redo things? Because in theater, why are they redoing a story? Because that's what we do. We redo the same plays. We're still doing Shakespeare. We're doing it we're changing it. So I liked, and in the early ones, like the animateds, where they were just doing an episode or two and doing them black and white and making them match because you were only getting 2 in the other 4 episodes to make them match. But when they started to do these, I like the fact that I can either watch it in black and white, watch it in color, or watch the telesnaps. Because the telesnaps in some of these they're better. I mean, they're still stills, but they're good quality. but I really like it. It aids me in watching them. You know, I'm with you. I'd rather sit and watch the animated than nothing at all, or listen to the audio, because some of the audio narrations are great, some of them aren't. I don't know. I've got some that are sold they don't have the narration in them yet.
Yeah.
Because first handful. So
yeah, I mean, I got the Power of the Daleks on a cassette. You know.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
that was Tom Baker bridging the gaps there, and it was a wonderful way to experience it. But you know, it's cassette. It's got the background hiss. It's got the, you know, it's a
Mike Ayres hadn't been anywhere near them yet. They were so raw.
Exactly. So I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there. We're not losing anything with these. If you don't like the animation, if you don't like, for example, in this one, I think the biggest example is where in part 4 or 5, where the Doctor's flying the helicopter back and there's massive seaweed tendrils reaching out from
and he does the loop-de-loop.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and again, Ian Levine is spitting feathers over that, because that never happened on. Okay, but if you don't like that, if you don't want to watch that, you don't have to.
You've got your cassette.
My DVD that I've got, you know, the steelbook. So I've got 3 discs. I've got one disc which has got the black and white version on. I've got one disc which has got the colour version, if that's your bag, and I've got another disc that's got the telesnaps on it. So you don't lose anything.
Oh no, you're given options, and I'm glad you said that. And there, because I was thinking about it, I went out on my balcony tonight. I just watched half of the color one again.
Yeah.
But I got up 2 days ago. I watched it in black and white, and then I have another. But we're done with this. I got a question about black and white color. I watched it in black and white because I wanted to get that 60s kind of feel, because they're good about the way they color tinted. I was watching the extra features, and that it's not black and white. It's black, white, and blue, because the television tubes were blue.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's why you're doing. That's why it's a little different. And then you had the color, and then you had and I watched all of them, because one, I've never seen a good telesnap of it, because I had a horrible copy. Yeah. So I didn't realize they had that much. I was thinking this was one that didn't have a lot of telesnaps, but they got everything. And it was neat to see it, but it was also neat to see that they allowed the artists, the animators, who are artists, to reinterpret it, to flesh it out. It still looks like it would have been designed in the 1960s, but more so it may have been designed by Hammer and not the BBC.
Yeah.
You know, and it's bigger, and they could pull back. And I love the scene where all the people infected come up out of the foam, and it's not just him. They're a lot scarier.
Yeah. And it's, you know, the seaweed is moving up and down.
Oh, God, it's so much better than 2 dudes underneath a tarpaulin doing it, waving their hands under soap bubbles.
I mean, you look at Robson in that scene, and then you see the surviving footage of him where he has captured Victoria in the helicopter, and it's just sort of like fiberglass.
Yeah.
You know, sticking out his sleeves, and you think, you've said it spot on. It's an interpretation.
Yeah.
This is what we're getting. We're not getting something that is going out to be exactly.
No, it's to capture. I think it's to capture the essence.
It's an interpretation. It's a version of this story, and if you don't like it, if you don't like them embellishing it, then I've only got one thing to say: is please never go and read a Target.
Oh yeah, good God! They're, you know, I just covered Marco Polo for Jason, and he made some good points. If that was found today, it would be sketchy.
Yeah, of course.
It would be like, are we really doing this? But the book is so much better, you know. And I listened to the book on tape, read by one of the actresses from it, and it was wonderful. And I think I even said to him, I was like, I need next time watch through, I may listen to that again instead of listening to the BBC release of the audio, which is good. Yeah. I mean, because it's got narration. But
it's, you know, it's the targets are exactly the same. You know, there's not one single target that doesn't do something different with the story, that doesn't embellish on it in some way or tweak bits here and there. Yeah. You know, some of them are out and out. You know,
not even close. Yeah, they're not close.
You know, some of them are just 10 sticks, just taking the script and typing it out, you know, in a style that Town Sticks does, which is fantastically engaging and wonderful. But you know, some of them are Town Sticks going in this, looking at this and saying, well, this story needs a little bit extra. It needs a prologue here. It needs an extra scene here. It needs this.
I'm going to do the things I couldn't do before.
Yeah, it gets massaged and it gets worked on, and that's exactly what the animations are doing. They are just now, an interpretation of the story. It's, 20 years time, we'll have, people looking back as fondly on animations as, people do now on targets.
I think you're true, because for me, and I've talked a lot about this. Me and Jeff covered the animates a couple times because there's so many that during the pandemic it was really this godsend because they were just coming out one after another, and it was a joy. And the thing that really just kind of sold me and made me a super fan of them, because I'll be their biggest cheerleader, was the Makra Terra. Yeah. Because it's freaking gorgeous.
Yeah,
it is. It takes a story that I really never got. Yeah. I mean, I got what they were going for, but it never clicked. It never worked. Was it a comedy? Was it a horror story? Was it a monster story? Was it, Dr. Fermenting Revolution?
Yeah.
It was just, the telesnaps were terrible. You couldn't the audio was, it never could get capsulated. I don't even remember the Target novel that well.
Yeah.
But when I watched it, I mean, it blew my mind what they had done. Especially when they pull the camera back outside of a window and you can see the base.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it blew my mind. And I think it is one of my, I think it's it and, God, which ones I've watched? I've watched it the most, and I've probably watched this one a bunch. And
yeah,
I love Power of the Daleks.
Yeah.
I really do. That's so old that was actually the second episode of Gallifrey's Most Wanted was the end. That's how long it's been out now. But Abominable Snowman, that they made everybody look Asian. Yeah. They've corrected. Look, we can. It's not a white dude with toupee tape next to his eyes. And I just think it's great. And I think the two different groups of people, because it ultimately ended up being like 2 or 3 different groups, because they're very different. And I think this is one of the big Finish ones, and it has a little bit. I always call it the Scooby-Doo animation because it's a little more cartoony than other ones, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, Scooby-Doo, the long arms, everybody's arms are just a little bit too long.
Yeah.
And I could see, I'd love to see Jamie teaming up with Scooby and Shaggy, and I'd like to see Jamie eat an edible with the dog. But it's got also that Saturday morning cartoon feel.
Yeah,
to us. You guys had Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like we had all the Hanna-Barbera stuff and the Filmation stuff. So it had that feel. So I love the animations, and this is one of them I really do enjoy because I didn't really get this story either, and how important it was.
I mean, it's funny you say about the pandemic. I mean, when I got this for Christmas, a week before I got COVID, and had to isolate in my bedroom for a week. So I watched this, in bed with COVID, and a lot of it went over my head the first time round, because of the state I was in. So, I enjoyed it the first time round. You come to watch it again a second time, and it really kind of comes home to you just what a good story it is.
It's an amazingly good story. It is.
I mean,
it's a love letter to Victoria. It's a great
absolutely,
exit. That's what got me is, wait a minute. I don't remember this being a fantastic. This is a good exit.
Yeah.
Because they're normally crap.
Yeah, it's normally, you get to, 90 seconds before the end, it's, Doctor, I'm not coming with you, and I want to stay here, and, you can't come with us, and that's it. They're kind of done and done with. I mean, if you look at the departures we've had up until this point, you're lucky if you even get a scene at this point. You have Ben and Polly disappearing, you have Dodo disappearing off to the countryside, never to be seen again. Vicky gets locked out the TARDIS. So it's only really like Ian and Barbara at this point who have had Stephen leaves as well. So it's really just like rush jobs and no, there's, even Ian and Barbara, who would no want to go back to London, have always wanted to go back to Earth, since the moment the Doctor trapped them in the TARDIS, so their departure, it makes sense, but again, it comes out of slightly out of nowhere. It comes out
of the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And you see their replacement introduced. And that may be us as me being jaded, because I saw Hartnell after I had seen, a bulk of stuff.
Yeah.
But I watched it the first time, and I may have talked to Jeff about it. That is, I had never realized that Victoria's exit is hinted at the beginning.
Yep.
It is the B plot of the story. She has an arc.
Yeah.
She has an arc. She gets separated from them. All this bad stuff gets happening, and she calls them on it constantly through.
Yeah.
Why do we keep rushing into danger? And it's not melodramatic. It's a wonderful performance. It's earned. It's just so good.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's just constantly throughout. It's just dropped, and it's signposted and telegraphed, and then you get to the end, and again, it's not just, oh, well, I'm not coming with you, Doctor. All right, okay, cool, Victoria, bye. They spend a week or something.
Oh, yeah, and they have dinner.
They give her a week.
Yeah, they have dinner, and then it's the next day, and and the doctor Jamie goes, well, I'll talk to her, and he's like, no, she has to make up her own mind. And it's those wonderful moments, and I was looking back because, I tease about, I love the Troutonier, but it is pretty much the same story over and over again in a different setting. But I wanted to look at this season, and I hadn't really kind of looked at it, wrong page. It's really an incredibly good season.
It really is.
It really is. And that we have it all now, except for Wheel in Space, is amazing.
Yeah. But I would say it's not the same story over again. I think there's enough. It's similar in as much as the production team are doing 6 episodes per story. It's based under siege. It's going to be monsters, blah blah blah. But there's enough sort of variety in there to keep it really interesting.
Yeah,
you go from Abominable Snowmen, which is past Earth, then you go to Ice Warriors, which is future Earth, and then you come back to Enemy from the World,
which is nothing like the rest of the stories.
Nothing like the rest of them.
It's nothing like we've ever seen again.
Then you go to Web of Fear, which is contemporary Earth.
Yeah, and it's really not based on the siege. It's Unit Light.
Yeah,
it's a whole new. They found another.
It's the prototype for season 7. Yeah, basically you've got soldiers fighting alien invasion. You've got a grumpy scientist and his young female scientist companion. Obviously, none of these are Doctor Who. Yeah. This is like Travers and Travers. So there's an alternative universe somewhere where instead of Liz Shaw, we'll get Anne Travers as the Doctor's companion. Oh,
I'd be fine with that. That's great. I love that actress. She runs a theater company in New York, upstate New York. I didn't realize that until Web of Fear came out, and I'd heard of the theater company. And then you get this one, Fear the Deep, which is, it's so much more than a regular base under siege, I think, in a lot of ways. I think the scope of it's bigger. I think the monster's better because it's not an Ice Warrior chasing you down. It's not a Cyberman. It's not an Abominable Snowman. It's this big creature. Oh, it's been here forever because the Doctor goes, looks, the myths of sea creatures. It's an alien entity, which is the kind of bad guys I like the Second Doctor fighting. The Mind Robber, the Great Intelligence. Because that's kind of, I think, Troughton's Doctor works better with those. He's like McCoy. They're these perfect little doctors that battle gods. Yeah. More so than the others do. And it's just, I'm this little elfish tramp. You can't think much of me, but I'm battling this being from another universe. So it's just so much more.
It's something that you can't shoot at. You can't shoot seaweed. You can shoot a Cyberman. You can shoot a Yeti. Yeah. You can shoot an Ice Warrior with bullets, but you can't shoot seaweed. Yeah. It's the monster, the foe is just something completely intangible, and it's like you say, is it an alien seaweed? Is it an evolved, from Earth? Is it like pollution? Has it been disturbed by the drilling of the gas? It's never really explained.
And I love it. That's a very British science
what
fiction
it is,
thing.
where it's come from, what it wants, or anything like that. It's just this sort of malevolent entity that they need to fight. So that's a really good angle on this as well. I think as these episodes, as these stories have gone, Derek Sherwin is getting the hang of how to tell this story. By the time we get to this one, it's the sixth one in the series. He's getting it down to a fine art of how to tell a base under siege story over 6 episodes. You look at Web of Fear. What that does that's really interesting is it brings in a character halfway through. Some guy called Lethbridge Stewart. Don't know what happened to him after that, but you introduce a new character in episode 3 or 4, which gives a little bit of impetus and a little bit of a boost. And he does exactly the same in this one. He brings in Megan Jones when Robson has his breakdown, so you get someone coming in to take over the base, and it just gives it that little. It just freshens it up a bit.
Yeah,
so you can tell that he's just, by this point, he's getting the hang of it. So yeah, this season might all be the same story, but that's not to say they're not telling a bloody good story.
Oh no! And I think that's me rewatching this one and watching it 3 times in a week.
Yeah.
Rewatching and I get the steel books. I've got a Region free player because I want those beautiful steel books. And whenever I get it, I watch it in black and white. Then I watch it completely in color. Then I watch the telesnap. I watch the extra features. I kind of get immersed in them. And when I look back at the list of stories, I went, I think this season and my unintentional prejudice to some of the formula of Troughton has gone away because I've now been given. I've not seen the original, but I've seen a close facsimile of it, so I can now pay attention to the plot. I'm not trying to paint the picture in my head. I'm not trying to figure out what this grainy telesnap is, so I can focus on Victoria. I can focus on what's going on. That all the characters are really fleshed out. Robson is. Yeah. He's not a blah-ha-ha villain. He's not a bad person. He's just doing his job.
He's a man on the edge. He's a man on the edge. There's echoes of Clint, leader Clint from Ice Warriors in him. These are, people that have been brought in because of their expertise to do a job, and they are, stubborn and proud men and can't bear the fact that they're going to fail at doing this job, so that kind of drives certain elements of the plot forward. Yeah,
I love that. I think, and that's a good thing. I hadn't really thought of it as someone who's a workaholic, and my wife fusses at me about fussing that I didn't do my, I get really pissed off at work. But seeing them is he's trying to do the right thing and make sure everything works, and he doesn't listen, and he gets wrapped up to it. And I like that. We don't have a bad guy. There isn't a traitor. There isn't. You don't have to have the bad guy. No. It's the Doctor landing and converting people to his cause, or just go, hey, I'll help you with this. And there's a lot of moving parts in this story. Yeah. There's Robson's story. There's the husband and wife.
The Harrises.
The Harrises.
Yeah.
The little guy that in the animated they make him that is he in a wheelchair in the original one? The guy that's always behind the counter.
He's not in the original. I don't think he is, but I think they have. But he was. I know Toby Haydock spoke of this gentleman. I forget his name. Quite often, and yes, he was a disabled actor, but they gave him roles where he was sitting. So you see him. He's the guy behind the scanner here, and then the Three Doctors. He's the guy he's the Time Lord that's at the scanner.
Oh, is he the dude when they're all standing behind him? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got plenty of roles, but the roles kind of, because that's what they did in those days. It wasn't a case of, well, we'll factor your disability into your role. We'll just, give you a role where
you sit.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's great, and I liked, but there were all these great characters, and it made it easier for me to enjoy it, and I got
Yeah.
1,000 times. I've gotten more out of it than I would have. Had I gotten out of it in the last 30 years or whatever since I got my first audio version of it.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about Victoria's departure, but it's a really strong story for her.
It is.
Anyway, I mean, I love that scene where they go back to the TARDIS with the seaweed, and it's Victoria that's doing all the experiments on it, and she's helping the Doctor. And
Oh, I loved it.
You kind of think, right, so you're going back to the origins of the character who was the daughter of a scientist, and quite a young girl, obviously brought up in the age when like gentlemen were scientists and scientists were gentlemen, and
Oh yeah.
having all this stuff around, so she knows her way around a test tube, and she knows how to do experiments and that sort of thing. And it's obviously a side of her character that was never explored properly. She just very quickly got turned into the damsel.
Yeah. And because she's good. What I like is, like, in her first story, she's really good. She's a little frail, but she's good. I think she's good in Tomb of the Cybermen.
Yep.
I think she's great in Web of Fear.
Yeah.
She has her moments, but this is the only story Victor Pemberton wrote. I thought, when I see his name, I thought it was like, oh no, but he script edited a couple.
Yeah.
That this is such a well-written script. It is so layered.
Yeah.
And it's more like I would feel like in a modern show is, okay, star C, this actress is leaving, so
Yep.
About 5 or 6 episodes in, or maybe we'll mention it once, I'm thinking about this or thinking about that, and then they'd have little things peppered throughout the rest of a season. But in this one is her through line throughout the story is all geared to that exit, and I think Pemberton gives her little action scenes where she's stuck in the gas, but she's trying to solve the mystery. She's given so much more to do.
Yeah.
I think, and I love that part. I also love the comedy duo of the scary bad guys.
Oh God, yeah.
Oak
and Quill.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of the really inappropriate bad guys in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, they're probably as close as we do get to an actual baddie, an actual like villain.
Yeah.
Tangible villain is Oak and Quill, and obviously the scene in episode 2, which we do have thanks to the fact it scared the Australians that much that they're
cut it
so
out delicate, the Australians.
But no, you can actually see why they did it. I mean, you wonder whether Victor Pemberton's written this knowing exactly how Bill Burridge is going to play it, or whether the director's cast him specifically because he can't open his mouth wide and bulge his eyes at the same time. But just that scene of him just mouth wide and eyes bulging and gas coming from his mouth, and you've got the little guy with the staining around his lips, and he's got that grin on his face.
Oh my God!
It's absolutely, it really is terrifying, and it's quite Hinchcliffe in a way. It's kind of like, this isn't for the kids anymore. This is to to scare the grown-ups now.
They're Robert Holmes kind of baddies in the background. He liked to have that little Dickensian kind of name. And those little creepy. And I liked it because when I watched the telesnaps last night, it has, if they have moving images, you can see them.
They'll put them in,
Yeah, they click them. So you have that scene. You have Robson flying with the carpet swatches hanging out of his shirt collar.
Yeah.
Just and stuff like that. But I think those two baddies, those two characters translate very well in animation. I think the animators did a very, very true to the way they looked, but then turned it up to 11, Yeah. And I think Robson looks. I think they capture a cartoon essence of all the original of the original actors, and do them justice. And they keep. I think they bring them. I think the animation brings a lot more of the menace out.
Yep.
I think it's a little more atmospheric. I think.
Oh yeah, I think what the animation really does is bring the atmosphere. Because I mean, I don't know what the weather's like for you at the minute, but it's horrible over here. You know, we've had rain all week. It's so damp and feisty outside. That is, you know, it's the perfect night to be talking Fury from the Deep.
Oh, really?
Because,
Oh, no. It's
you
us.
know,
We got a little, what we used to call Indian summer.
yeah, we think we've missed that bit. We're going into our winter now, but yeah, it's just so damp and dank and dark outside at the minute. That's exactly what this story is as well.
It's
You know,
mm-hmm.
you have that's so much atmosphere. You know, it's coming straight off the back of Web of Fear, which is thick with atmosphere, and it's doing the exact same thing. And where the animation really works for me is the sets, because
when they go below,
yeah,
that's so much better because it's old, it's gray, it's murky, everything's dark.
Yep.
It's
the sets like the impeller shaft. You know, it's like cavernous, but it is like a cavern. It's rock. It's wet. You know, you can just see that. You know how humid it is in there, and that just really works. You know, you think if we get this back and it'll come back as like a corner of Lime Grove or wherever, it's not going to be the same. But you can really, as like you said with Macra Terra, you know, you can build a set that you just would be able to do back in the day. So yeah, that's a big win.
Yeah, I think they did a great job designing everything. I think it's Martin Garrity did a lot of the character designs, who drew a ton of Doctor Who magazine comics over the years. I think that helps. I think I have a problem sometimes when I'm watching, because I never, to be honest, Flux was the first time I ever watched a Doctor Who serialized story week to week, because I always saw 2 episodes at a time or movie versions where I grew up. So even when I'm watching the six-parter, I'm kind of just ignoring the end credits and stuff. I'm going to get a cup of tea or get a soda or go cook that or do something while it runs to the next episode. But I kind of focused on this time through to kind of pause and go, okay, that's the cliffhanger. And I think what I liked about this story is each episode, there's not a padding episode. I'm a big feeler that most times 6 episodes, you may have an episode where, we've done that already.
Yeah.
So, but I think this one, because it does build, you have new characters introduced, characters that are infected and go away, like Mrs. Harris.
Yeah.
The people at the other, the 1 or 2 people we see from the other platforms, and Robson. And so, but you add new characters, so it's just, I could see this would have been riveting if I was like 10 years old when it came out in every Saturday, because they got great cliffhangers. Every episode has got something unique to offer, and I felt every episode was as fulfilling as the next one.
Yeah.
Because I've had, there are times there's a doctor, one of the Pertwee ones, it's one of the Dalek ones. I think it's maybe one of the Katie ones is one of the color episodes was missing, right?
Uh-huh.
When they edited it together, they just didn't edit that episode in, and we never noticed it because they were in the damn air ducts. So an entire episode was gone. But but see, that doesn't happen. It's like, I love Genesis of the Dalek, but how many times have we got to watch the Doctor and Harry cross by that damn foam clamshell? This definitely was such. I found so much more out of it this last time.
I think it goes back to what I was saying about Sherwin, like, perfecting as he goes. I mean, you look at something like the Ice Warriors, and you can't see the plates spinning, the wheels spinning at certain points in there. You think, you're getting to sort of like episode 5, and people are being chased by bears and whatnot, and you think, well, okay, fair enough. But you come to this one, and it's following Web of Fear again. Your first episode, it's mystery. what's going on. Your second episode builds on that mystery, and there's third episode, again, bit of mystery, bringing in those new characters now. Episode 4 is where you get a bit of action.
Mm-hmm.
You bring your action into 4 and 5, and then you wrap everything up again in 6. So it's, you can see that kind of structure working on both this and Web of Fear as well. Talking about the cliffhangers though, the cliffhangers on this are so good, but they're so adult.
Yeah.
It's you think you were 5, target audience, 6, 7, 8-year-old kid or whatever, the cliffhangers aren't necessarily going to work on that age because you're wanting something that's really exciting. You're going into the cliffhanger thinking, I want to know what happens next. These cliffhangers is Van Lutjen's standing next to the shaft saying there's something in the pipeline waiting.
Yeah.
It's Mrs. Harris walking out into the sea.
Really disturbing.
Really tense, atmospheric moments, but really, played from all the adults. It's so sophisticated, the script.
I agree, and I like that in the ending. Because like we already said, it's not just them rushing off. You get to see them have a little conversation. Robson and the Doctor are friends now. There's a dinner, and it like it's 6 or 7 minutes of that episode is wrapping up. Is wrapping up Victoria's story and going, hey, we introduce you to all these great characters. They're all going to get a curtain call.
Yeah.
When Robson goes to the little round face guy, I can't remember his character's name, but the one who's defending him. Because he's my friend, he's my boss. He's my boss.
Yeah.
And they kind of tease each other and they walk away, and it's like that doesn't happen a lot in Doctor Who, where these characters that you get to know very well because they all have a moment to shine. I don't think there's a superfluous character in this story.
No,
and
not
it's
at
a
all.
huge cast.
It is, and just this once, everybody lives.
Oh yeah, because that's what I like, is because I never realized they lived. Listen to the audio, but when they're and I mean, the first time I saw this and you saw the people with the seaweed coming out in the foam, I was like, oh wow.
I mean, she walks into the sea halfway through, just walks into the sea. You think that's it, she's not coming back, but But she's back for the end, and everyone lives. That's again, it's just a real sophistication that we're not just going to take like the Eric Sayward route of just kill everyone off at the end, regardless. We're actually, like you say, we've built some good characters and we'll bring them back. I mean, the Harrises, he's the second in command and she's his wife, and she gets stung by the seaweed, and he loses all interest in what's going on in the base. My wife's poorly. I need to sort my wife out. That's his focus. You don't get that level of sophistication in many Doctor Who stories of this time.
It would have been forgotten.
Yeah.
People, you're introduced to someone's husband or wife, and then they disappear, and it's just to go, look, they have someone waiting for them. It's like, but that's not. I don't feel the menace just by saying that there's someone in the background waiting for him, or what I mean, is that she's a fully formed character. She starts to help. You know what I mean? She's just not she's not a weak flower, who swoons and stuff. She's been poisoned. Yeah. I liked it a lot, and I really liked the husband, Professor Harris. Yeah. Because he doesn't take any of Robson's crap.
No.
He's like, I don't care. My wife is far more important than your ego.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
you're having a pissing contest with that guy over there, but my wife is poorly, so that's the main thing. And
then Robson, and I don't think Robson, when he lets him go, is letting him just go home. I think it's more, you're right, but I'm not gonna ever. I'm not a person who ever was gonna admit I'm wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he's not really a baddie. He's just like, I'm so focused on this job that I have nothing else but it. There's
Yeah.
That's all there is to me is my job. And I think that's kind of, I got a lot out of that during the pandemic, as being essential personnel. It was like, God, I'm really
Yeah.
tired of being fucking essential. I would like to be so unessential right now. I am tired.
Yep.
But it's a great one. So I'm gonna, before we get to, I want to ask your final thoughts on it. I ask this with anybody I talk to about the animations with, is black and white or color, is what's your preference?
Black and white, if I'm being honest,
Okay.
because that's what I'm used to. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm used to seeing Patrick Troughton in, and that's what I'm used to seeing, William Hartnell in, is black and white. So my default is always black and white.
I gotcha.
But it's I have watched this one back in colour, and enjoying the colour coming through as well. It's an interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah, I have a
It's another way of looking at it.
I have a rule. It's, if I'm watching it in a bubble by itself, I will watch the color. I will
Yep.
pull the Macroterra out. I have probably watched the Macroterra 20 or 25 times, and I will put that in color and watch it like I'm watching a movie, because
Yep.
I think it's that much better. But
Yep.
if I'm doing a rewatch, no, it's black and white. It's black and white because I
Yep.
want to watch it. I want to watch it as close as I can get. And some of these digital remasters, like Web of Fear,
Yeah.
the episodes that they have are stunning. I'm not a big fan of the Web of Fear animation for the single episode. Noble experiment, but you don't. I'd rather you've just tried something else.
I mean, again, I don't mind it because it's just one.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I can see what they were going for, and I think, as an experiment, it kind of needs to be done because, you watch the special feature on that, and they've made it very clear that, this is a very cost-effective way of doing the animations, so, trying it out for one episode's fine, but, this is, so much cheaper if we have to change costumes, if we have to change backgrounds, if we have to,
Yeah, no, I get it.
and you think, okay, we've got the likes of Marco Polo, which is a different, as you've discussed with Jason, is a different setting every week.
Yeah.
You've got things like the Dalek Master Plan sitting there, which has got 11 episodes to be animated. If we want these animated, we're not going to have we're not going to be able to be, have the Scooby-Doo animation all the time.
No,
we're not going to be able to have something like 10th Planet, which is so anime. It's got a very sort of anime look about it. If we want a big story animated, we're not always going to be have it the way.
To do it. Yeah.
So, I watched that, and it was jarring, and it was, you first start watching it and you think, what is this, and why are they walking like that, and you kind of get used to it though. By the end of that episode, you're not noticing that, you are just kind of, you're tuned in to what's going on. So would I rather have Web of Fear 3 animated Scooby-Doo style or 10th Planet or Invasion style? Yes, I would. Would I rather have it animated the way it is than not at all? Yes, I would.
I'm fine with it. It took me a couple viewings. And then I just went, I'll just kind of look away when it bugs me. And I was more as a theater person, it was like when I saw them doing it, it was the animators doing all the movement. And I was like, okay, guys, when an actor moves, they move with a purpose and in character. You're walking around like trying not to bump into shit. So you guys all went to drama school or did plays in high school. You got some actor buddies. You can, but I think in the long run, because I think what you could do with modern technology is have something like Martin Garrity. This is what the character is going to look like in 3D.
Yep.
And then the computer will be smart enough to map that onto someone moving, or taking learning, like watch, take that actor like Patrick Troughton walking as a doctor and have it the computer mimic it. I think we could get a good hybrid of stuff for these 1s and 2s we got.
It's there to be.
I live on a main road. That is a bunch of guys with a middle-age crisis driving their motorcycles up and down the avenue.
Yeah. I mean, it's there to be improved on. You know what I mean? It's there. It's there to be bettered. This is not. That was never the. This is how it's going to look for all of time.
Well,
that's years away. Years gone now.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to see, because I think one reason BBC doesn't want to pay for Doctor making it, they are paying some, but to have Bad Wolf do it, have Sony kick in some money because they bought Bad Wolf, have Disney kick in, everybody kick in a little bit, that they can do more of the animation. We're going to get the Underwater Menace, which is great. I'm excited. I've ordered my Steelbox from Amazon UK. I am looking forward to, maybe you'll do Damn Wheel in Space. Just do it. Yep. Just finish it. That'd be great. But also, I would like to see, the ones that what's the last one of the seals? The pirate.
Space Pirates.
Space Pirates. Yeah. Please have someone redesign it and make it Buck Rogery. I mean, imagine the things that you can imagine. But maybe by then, some of this what we used to call rotoscoping. Ralph Bakshi did kind of like, it's just kind of high-tech rotoscoping. You may be able to do those long stories and make corrections. With Marco Polo, make them look correct. Yep. Change some of the voices maybe from the really racist ones. So yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see progressions. I'm looking forward to, because what I've liked about the animation that they're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because Galaxy 4 is very different than the rest. And I really liked it. And I liked the liberties they took with it. And I liked the color palette that they chose. Yeah. It's a very distinct color palette, that oranges and blues and stuff. And it was gorgeous. Awesome. Yeah. But I would like to see more of these. But back to what the question was, is I like watching them in black and white. I like watching them in color, but I do kind of do the color as a standalone.
Obviously, what's rumored of the next one is the Celestial Toymaker. Now, give me that in color.
I'll take that in color and fix some stuff.
Give me an interpretation of that, of the swinging 60s in color.
Yeah.
In Doctor Who.
Well, it's like what they do in Evil of Daleks, when you get to see that coffee bar in the way it was meant to be seen in color, and it was that red, the blue, white, and red. Yeah. And then kind of,
you can do something fun with that, I think.
Yeah, and maybe you can do something with it where you can explain. Because I was thinking, because Celestial Madonna dude, that's a comic book story arc from an Avengers that I'm about to read. Celestial Toymaker is, yes, they dressed him like a Mandarin, which was pretty racist.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the writer's intent. I think that's the costume designer, because Celestial could also mean Toymaker from space.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I think that's what the writer intended.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, that's how I've always interpreted it, is Toymaker from the stars, not more Oriental, despite, like you say, Michael Gough being dressed as a Mandarin. It's, that's a connection that's been pointed out to me, not one that I've made myself. If that makes sense. So
Yeah. Because I mean, when someone said in recent years we've been reevaluating things over years, I was like, but I never thought of it that way. And then I went, but I get it, because that's a really terrible thing to call a person from China. But it was really prevalent in this country, especially out west. Yeah. Because we actually had a law that excluded all Chinese immigrants after about 1880, and it was on the books until the 1950s.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it was because of that, and they would use that term when they talked about it. But that's one I'd like to see done. I'd like to see it in full, vibrant, super Scooby-Doo color. I think
of course.
that one.
the character is coming back in a month's time. Now, what's to say that with an animation you can't say Neil Patrick Harris has this costume in this episode, so let's have Michael Gough wear the same.
Yeah, I would be happy with that.
That would make a lot of sense. Really, to say, okay, we'll dress him as an actual toy maker, like he is in, like we've seen him.
Yeah.
Be dressed, or you could go through the lot. You could just have him wear all these. We've seen enough, footage and stills and trailers of the toy maker coming up to know that he wears a variety of outfits. You could have those all the way through.
Oh yeah, you could do
the
different
animation,
things.
And you've solved that issue, but you've kept it sort of real with what. Kept it in keeping with the character as the character is now.
Yeah, but I'd love to see those games not done in like a 7x7 room. The one where they're playing basically they're playing lava.
Yeah.
But imagine if it was, because they do definitely they've stretched the envelope. I mean, because I think Galaxy 4 is basically reimagined 90%.
Yeah.
So you could do so much. I'm looking forward to Neil Patrick Harris. He's doing. I mean, if I was German, I would probably be a little offended by that accent he's doing.
It's very thick.
It is. But yeah, there's so much more they can do. So overall, what's your feeling on Fury of the Deep, just as a story?
I mean, it's classic for me. It's by the time this goes out, it will be a few days away from me revealing where it comes in my top 60 of all time, because
I'm enjoying your top 60. Yeah. I'm agreeing on a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm working through. I'm blogging my personal top 60 Doctor Who stories. I'm releasing one a day, counting down to the November the 23rd. So Fury from the Deep is in there, and it is going to be coming up a few days after this goes out, I believe, but I'm not going to say exactly where it comes, but it is in there. So yeah, it's made the top half. It's top 30. Top 30 Doctor Who for me.
Was it even near the top 100 or 200 before you got the animated?
No, it wouldn't have been, because it like I say, I don't do telesnaps. They just don't work for us. So it's it's exactly the same with Macra Terror. Macra Terror shot straight up as soon as I saw and listened to it, because until then it's just something I've kind of dismissed and said, well, I know I'm not going to enjoy that, so I'm not going to, I'm not going to put a telesnap on if I'm, I don't want to sit and not enjoy something. I want to sit and enjoy it, if you know what I mean. So, Fury, like I say, I watched it the first time with COVID. Didn't really appreciate it. Obviously loved elements of it, but it's not until I kind of went back to it, a year or so ago and watched it properly that you really appreciate the atmosphere on it. We haven't talked about Dudley Simpson, but Dudley Simpson.
Oh my God, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I was kind of laying on the sofa watching it like the third time in a week, and reading a comic at the same time, and the music came up, and I went, okay, I should flip to the next episode, and I went, oh, that's why the music's so damn good. That's Dudley. How early is this for Dudley?
It's Dudley in his sort of creative period where he's playing with instruments and new ways of making music, and so you've got the atmosphere of the setting. You've got Dudley Simpson's music, you've got the sophistication of Pemberton's script with Sherwin, hammering it into the format that he now knows how to do exceptionally well. And then you've got all of this wrapping around, basically, like you say, a love letter to Victoria, giving her some real good moments, some real agency and stuff to do before we finally say goodbye to her.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way with it. I think it moved. So many of these animated ones just shot up. I've not done a ranking of mine ever, because it's a lot now.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And it would be, I mean, it would be difficult for me because I'm one who can separate. There's always something I like about Doctor Who, and I like it because of the variety. So I can find something like in any era, any Doctor, and then my take on it changes, and I've done this while me and Victoria now, while I'm continuing with Gallifrey's Most Wanted, is I also like the fact that when you watch a piece of television or a piece of art, what's going on in real time with you affects how you absorb it. There are certain things during, I did this great, started my rewatch up when the Blu-ray box set started coming out, and I was in the middle of Pertwee, so I basically watched all of Pertwee over like a month during lockdown. And there were ones that, like The Mutants, which will be the next episode that drops, took on a whole nother thing because of Donald Trump and stuff like that. And, good God, how many infectious diseases spread in Doctor Who stories? So they all took on different things. So I think
the Silurians now.
Oh my God, that stuff changes, but these animated ones have really shot up, and I've almost thought, well, I'm in my great rewatch. I'm about to go into. I just got to get through Sylvester, and then, I'm a big McGann and Big Finish fan, so I consider his Big Finish canon in my head. Also my spread a lot of Big Finishes canon in my head. 60 and Evelyn, a lot of what they've done 60 and that. But, I kind of not. I've thought about now we're only missing Wheel in Space, the Highlanders, and the Space Pirates. That's it. That's it in second Doctor. We got a bunch of Hartnell, but I think they're screaming to be made. I think they're afraid to make the historicals because, some of them they're dodgy people, but I think they should do them. I'd like to see them do them, but
there's ways around them. There's ways around that. They've done it with Abominable Snowmen. There's ways around.
You can tidy up some of the inadvertent racism. And just dodgy characters. But it'd be good. You could sit here and watch the second Doctor pretty much in his entirety. I would say there isn't a good I don't think there's a good telesnaps one for Space Pirates anywhere. I don't think I've ever seen a good one of it. And it's hard to listen to on audio. I can listen to audio. I'm good. I listen to audio on the bus, and I don't have a problem with it. It's got Frazer. I think it's got Frazer Hines doing the narration, but it's a clunker. I don't think audio does it justice. But do I think these animators could do it justice? They could probably. I would like to see them try.
Absolutely. I mean, the novel is a page turner.
Yeah, I do remember. I'd like that.
It's one of the last ones in the range, I think, and it's Terrence Dicks getting his hands on it, and it's a page turner. You get to the end, and you just, what's happening next?
Because he cuts a lot out, doesn't he?
I mean, there was a lot to be cut out in that one. I think it
suffers.
You get to the end of this season 6, and it's a production running on fumes. The cast are running on fumes. The behind the scenes, producer and script editor are, having to work wonders.
And they're jumping from each other's jobs at this point. Like one episode, Peter Bryant's the producer and Derek Sherwin's the script editor, and then they have to flop it. And I would like to go back and, it's been a while since I've read the history of this era, but I kind of like to look back at it, because this is a really weird season, because I was looking, Victor Pemberton, he only script edited one story.
Yeah.
And that this thing is, and I can see why they're tired. They're having to flip, wear each other's hats, do different things. When I went back today and was going, let's remind me what order this season is, and I was going now that I've seen all the animated, and I've really enjoyed them, is I think the season is probably, I would rate this higher than I used to
Yeah,
rate
yeah.
the
Oh,
entire
cool.
season. It would go above a bunch of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Like I said, it does have a touch of repetitiveness about it, which I would argue isn't always that repetitive. But even if you say, even if I concede that point and say it's very samey, it's done well.
yeah.
It's the classic. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
They are making excellent drama, week after week.
I
And
think,
they've got a format and it's working for them, and they are working that format,
yeah.
and it's producing some excellent stuff.
Yeah. I think that also when I look back at it now, and I'm just thinking right now, is that they are all the base under siege. It is the series of the monsters, but it is a good mix, and the stories are different. The two Cybermen ends that bookend them are totally different.
Absolutely, yeah.
Totally different. Now that I can see Abominable Snowman, oh my God, it is so good. And now probably I'm thinking, oh, I'll pop that in tonight or something. Just there's such a good mix. Enemy of the World's a masterpiece. It is it's one of these things is when they're found that they get a new lease on life. And I think that these animations gave, for me, this story a new lease on life.
Definitely.
And I think now that I have, we have the whole season, it's great.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. Frazer, tell people where they can find you on many of the podcasts that you guest on.
You could find me on Track One podcast. I'm part of the team that's currently covering the Big Finish 60th anniversary range once in future. So we've got the most recent one of that, the Union, to come in the next few weeks. You can catch all the previous 6 episodes we've done on that, as well as many other episodes of Trap One in the past. You'll find us cropping up on Jason Miller's Doctor Who Literature podcast, as have you, Ross.
Yeah.
So you'll find us on a few episodes of that, and Hamster with a Blunt Penknife. I've done 1 or 2 of those. This week, next week, Toby Haydock is releasing my contribution to Happy Times and Places, which is Meglos.
Cool.
So you can find me.
Meglos.
You can find my 5 favourite things about my favourite season 18 story Meglos on Toby's podcast. You'll find us on Twitter. It's Twitter. It's not X. It's Twitter.
Yeah.
It's at Felix Frazer. And if you're on Blue Sky, you'll also find us over there. On there. And if you want to catch up on my blog of 60 top Doctor Who stories of all time, you'll find that at skiesfullofdiamonds.wordpress.com.
Cool. I will have to check that out. Kind of see. I've been seeing your little things on at Twitter about it and enjoyed them. Like, oh, that's good. Well, I'm glad he likes that one. Because sometimes I see things that people like, the polls, and I'm not going to throw the name out of one that's up there all the time because he's a nice guy. But it's just like, when I put mine in, it's like, I'm always on the losing end of these.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a little bit of guys my age and maybe your age who are still, their first love is old Who.
Yep.
And that's fine. Yep. I get that. But I know that they're doing the survey in the monthly. I'm way behind on my magazine. I haven't really looked at what the results are in these last surveys and I've never done one. I've done that thing where you pick what's the randomizer and then you pick it until you get your list. And I will admit that my bias shows because God Complex normally is number 1.
But that's how I did my top 60. Used that.
Did you? I might have to go do it again because I haven't done it in a while, and it does change.
Yeah.
But I do kind of cheat in God Complex's thing. I was trying to see how high up I can get it. But I think I need to do it because there's so much. I don't think I've done it since I've watched all these animateds again.
Yeah.
So it's always fun. Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad to have you back. I was glad you're the first one. You were my guest for the first one where I was re-recording. I needed the few months off to focus on work and my other podcasts and just get a palate cleanse in my brain. Yeah. So when New Who comes back in November, I can be excited for it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well,
it's great having you on.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks again for inviting us back. We'll do it again sometime.
All right, folks. Well, as always, you can find us here on Gallifrey Most Wanted. In 2 weeks, it'll be the Mutants. In 2 weeks after that, it'll be the Hand of Fear. Mutants will be me and Mark Cochran from All of Time and Space. And then Jason from Doctor Literature will be doing Hand of Fear, the farewell song of my companion, my favorite companion of all time, Sarah Jane. And you can catch me also on my comic book podcast, Stop Let's Team Up. I do 2 or 3 episodes a week covering anything from Starman to Fantastic Four and anything nerdy and superhero-y. But as always, we look forward to seeing you somewhere in time or space.